when Abram was 90 years old. Oh no, when Abram was 99 years old. Wow, that's pretty old. Do you know anybody who's 99? Mrs. Frost in our church is almost 99. That's pretty old. When Abram was 99 years old, he and his wife, Sarai, were still waiting for God's promise of a huge family to come true. Abram was getting frustrated. He asked God, "What are you waiting for?" God spoke to Abram, "I will keep my promise, and I will change your names. Instead of Abram, your name will become Abraham, and Sarai, your wife, will become Sarah." Abram was afraid of what God said. He thought he was too old to become a father of so many people, and his wife was too old to have children. He fell on his face and peeked up with one eye. Could God really make such a thing happen? Later, as Abraham was sitting by the tent, he saw 3 strangers walking towards him. Abraham squinted into the sun and wondered who would be visiting him on such a very, very hot day. "Hi," Abraham said when they arrived. "You must be tired from traveling. Would you like to sit down and rest and have some food?" Quickly, Abraham asked Sarah to make some bread. He ordered his servant to prepare some meat. Sarah stood hiding in the tent, listening to the visitors. Who are they? Why had they come to her house? And why were they talking about her? She leaned in a little closer to hear. "Your wife Sarah will have a son," the visitors said to Abraham. Sarah started to laugh. Didn't they know she was too old to have a child? The visitors looked up. "Why is Sarah laughing?" they asked. "Doesn't she believe God's promise will happen?" God's promise to Abraham did happen. Sarah had a baby boy and named him Isaac, which means laughter. Abraham and Sarah's family grew and grew and grew, and God blessed each generation with laughter and happiness. There are Abraham and Sarah with baby Isaac. Here's an idea. Why don't you make a promise to somebody in your family or to a friend? And then be sure to keep it. God always keeps his promises. Hi, boys and girls. Well, we're going to keep continuing to read our stories from the Spark Bible. I hope you're following along. This next one is about 2 people called Rebekah and Isaac. Do you remember? Isaac means laughter, and Isaac was the son of Sarah and Abraham. Let's see what God has promised and how he keeps his promises in this story. God kept the promise to Abraham that he would have many children. God promised that Abraham's son Isaac would have lots of children too. When Abraham was very old, he asked his servant to help find a wife for Isaac. The servant needed to go to a place where people believed in God. So he went on a long, long journey to the town where Abraham grew up. And when he got to the town, the servant knew that he needed to find a woman who would be Isaac's wife. But he didn't know where to find her. He prayed to God for help. He said, "God, I will go to the well in the town and ask a woman for a drink. If she gives me a drink of water and offers to get a drink for my camels, then I will know that she is the right one." The servant waited patiently by the well. In the evening, a beautiful woman came to fill her jars with water. Her name was Rebekah. The servant asked her for a drink, and Rebekah replied, "Well, sir, here is a drink for you. Perhaps your camels would like some water too." And she got water for the camels. Rebekah showed wonderful kindness. The servant believed God heard his prayer. "God sent me a very long way to find you," he told her. "God has a plan for you to marry a man named Isaac. God has promised that you and Isaac will have many children." Rebekah said, "I have always wanted a big family. And I know that God keeps his promises. I will marry Isaac." After Isaac and Rebekah got married, Isaac prayed for children. Isaac and Rebekah had twin boys named Esau and Jacob. Isaac's children were Abraham's grandchildren, just like God had promised. They had twin boys, Esau and Jacob. And Rebekah and Isaac were happy. Oh my goodness gracious, here's a question for you. You are part of God's promise to Abraham too. How does that make you feel? Wow. We are part of the generations that came after Abraham and Sarah. Amazing. How does that make you feel? In our last story, we learned that Rebekah and Isaac had two children, and they were twins, named Esau and Jacob. Let's see what we can learn about Esau and Jacob. Rebekah and Isaac had asked God for only one child, but he did give them twins. Rebekah could feel those babies pushing and pulling inside of her before they were born. She prayed to God, "Why are my babies always fighting?" God answered her, "They're in a race to be born first. Your family will be different. Your younger son will be the leader of the older one." This was really a surprise to Rebekah, because usually the older child was the leader of all of the brothers and sisters. Esau was born first. Wow, he was hairy and he was red and he made a lot of noise. Which one do you think is Esau? I think this one is Esau. And Jacob was born next. He had smooth skin, and the race was so close to see who was going to be born first that Jacob was born holding on to Esau's foot. Wow. Before long, the twins grew into men. They were very different. Esau was big and strong. Esau made Isaac very proud because he was a hunter. And Jacob was smaller than Esau and very quiet. Rebekah loved that Jacob liked to stay around home. When Isaac became old and blind, it was time to give his blessing to his oldest child, passing on the leadership of the family. Since Isaac couldn't see any longer, he rubbed Esau's hairy arms to make sure that he had the right son. "Esau," he said, "bring me dinner, and I will bless you." Rebekah was listening. "Jacob," she whispered, "hurry, hurry. Cover your arms with that hairy goat skin to fool your father." Rebekah remembered that God said Jacob would make a better leader for the family than Esau, and so Jacob dressed up like Esau and brought Isaac his dinner. The plan worked. Jacob tricked Isaac into making him the new leader of the family. Do you see the picture? Look, the goat skins are on Jacob's arms. And Isaac touches the goat skin, and he thinks that he is touching Esau. Oh my. Here's a question. How would you feel if you were tricked like your brother, like Esau was? I don't know how I would feel about that. I bet he was mad.